To be honest, I don't find it that pleasurable. I don't actually enjoy meditating that much. Sometimes I do, but as many times as I do, it's difficult for me. It's work. It's sometimes, truthfully, it feels like I suck. Like it's really amazing the frequency with which thoughts keep entering my mind. I forget who, and again, I can't remember if it was Sam Harris or a different guide who made this point, which was actually, I think it was actually Jeff Warren, which was, he described it as the bicep curl of the brain is not the cessation of thought. It's the recognition of the thought that then allows you to go back to the breath or whatever the focus is. And boy, that really, again, that's just an example of like, that's not a particularly like profound, difficult to understand concept, but it's exactly what I needed to hear, which is don't be discouraged that you keep having thoughts. That's the exercise. The exercise is acknowledging it, recognizing it, going back to the focus, which in this case could be the breath or a sound or something like that. And so it's not about that state that you may or may not achieve. Just as some people who, like you and I, we love exercising, so we actually get a pretty good state out of it. I actually, if exercise provided no benefit, I would still do it, just because of how I feel when I do it. But for many people, that's not the case. But exercise is still valuable. If you spend an hour a day exercising, it's really what it's doing for you that other 23 hours. So I guess that would be the next thing I would say to anybody listening to this who's tried meditation, who has found it to be unpleasurable or uninteresting or whatever. It's like, that's okay. You're not doing it for what you experience in that 20 minutes.
I would also add, and this just occurred to me, because I think you're in some ways alluding to this, that in my experience, having observed hundreds of thousands of listeners and readers attempt or not attempt, succeed or not succeed with different forms of meditation, it's very important, and this applies to many, many different things, including physical exercise as far as I'm concerned, but the good program that you follow, let's lower it even further. The consistent program that you follow is better than the perfect program that you quit. So if you're having trouble following a meditation program and you've committed to doing it daily, which is a very important commitment in the beginning, keep lowering the bar. If you think 20 minutes is too much, do 10 minutes. 10 minutes is too much, do 5 minutes. If concentration meditation is too difficult, use a guided meditation. And I recall at one point, there were two things that I recall having been said to me. I think Tara Brach mentioned the first. I could be misattributing, but I think it was Tara Brach who first said this to me. Her book, Radical Acceptance, by the way, ties into everything that we're talking about beautifully. It had a huge impact on me and has had a huge impact on many people. It's the type of title that's going to scare off a lot of people because I think it's going to be a bunch of woo-woo, hand-wavy stuff. There's a little bit of woo in there, but it is a incredibly good book, Radical Acceptance. If you have any type of emotional patterns or thought patterns that seem to control you as opposed to the other way around, this is a worthwhile book. And her guided meditations are very good, but we were chatting. I had her on the podcast, on my own podcast, and I believe it was Tara who said, the repetition, if we're doing the bicep curl, isn't the 20-minute session where you sit perfectly without having a single extraneous thought occur. The repetition is when you get distracted and something comes up and then bringing it back to the breath. So you should be happy when that happens because that is the work. Mm-hmm. The work isn't doing it perfectly every time.
It took me 3 years to understand that.
Yeah.
3 years of frustration and am I doing this right? And, why can't I stop thinking? And just all of this misunderstanding. But boy, once you get what the bicep curl is,
it's freeing and it makes the pass-fail bar lower, which for many of the people who most need meditation, which I think has a branding problem, like it should be called, emotional non-reactivity training or something that sounds very appealing to, type A driven people. Emotional non-reactivity conditioning program. There you go. Or just warm bath for the mind might be appealing to other people. But meditation as such, it's a word that's it's so overused and unfortunately could use a rebrand. But for the time being, meditation and a successful meditation session should in the beginning be as easy as possible to fit into your life. You need to stack the deck, particularly in the beginning. And TM, Transcendental Meditation, was very good at instilling this in the training, for me at least. They said, if you say the mantra once in a session, that is a successful session. You have 20 minutes to say a 2-syllable mantra once. That's a successful session. And you might even drop it further and say, you know what, this is the goal. This would be miraculous. But if I just sit for 20 minutes with my eyes closed, that's a successful meditation session. And sometimes I've honestly wondered how much of the benefit comes from some of